So Majority did another table topics video, and this video is about chill games. Now the topic for this video was actually my idea, and the reason why I decided to do it was because I've been playing a lot of chill games recently, because I just enjoy chill games, I just do. I can play chill games for the rest of my life, but because I'm trying to experience a lot of different games willingly, I play a lot of different games, but I could play these games for the rest of my life. I don't need any other games, because quite frankly this is the only thing I need in my gaming life. But I'm so passionate about video games that I'll play a lot of different things and try different things out and see if there's anything good out there besides these games. But honestly, eventually there comes a point where you just want to chill, you know, you just think, well, I've been playing a lot of different games and, you know, I'm feeling a bit, you know, I just kind of need a break from focusing on analysing these games. I just want to play something that's chill. And the games that I pick for these circumstances tend to be games that have creation aspects, because I'm a very creative person. So I like games that allow for customization, personalization and all that. Those are sort of like the games that I go for when it comes to chilling. And I'm going to also add this as well. The other thing that I need a chill game to be is it needs to be somewhat easy and accessible. If it's a game that's very time consuming, like, and I mean really time consuming, or like requires me to like turn on my brain when playing it, it's not really the best example of a chill game. These games are games that I can just turn off my brain and enjoy. So my first pick, and the game that I play probably the most to chill, would be Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires. This game is pretty much everything I want out of a video game, but it's not the perfect game, obviously. You know, like, you all know that my favourite game is Valve Profile 2, and Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires is a sloppy game in some ways. It's definitely not the most refined beat-em-up ever made. It's definitely not the best beat-em-up ever made. It's definitely not the beat-em-up that I would play to, like, get an amazing experience out of. It's just kind of like comfort food to me. That's kind of what it is, and it's the perfect kind of comfort food for me, because it's a game that caters to me in the sense that I like the easy difficulty of the games, because a lot of beat-em-ups are really hard. You have a lot of games that are brutally hard, like God Hand and Ninja Gaiden 2, and you're just like, you know, I just want to chill. I just want to play something easy, and Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires is as easy as you can get. It's probably one of the easiest Musos as well, if you ask me, because really, you can adjust like all of the kingdom management to make things even easier than it would be in the actual main games, and you don't have to follow all of these objectives, and you don't have all of these fail conditions to worry about, besides them taking over your base camp, like your main base camp. And because of that, it's a really chill experience. You just basically have a good mixture of like little tactical decisions. I won't really call it a strategy game, because it's not. It's mainly just making a tactical choice that can have a minor impact on the actual game overall. And then you just get into the game and start hacking things up. And the best part about Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires is that you can do this with custom characters. And I've made a ton of custom characters in this game. And on top of that, you can also make your own custom scenario, which essentially means that you can make your own Muso game in Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires. And that's awesome. So you can create your own kingdoms, and you can create officers for each kingdom, and you can just like create so many. I mean, I've already done a video explaining all of this, so if you want to see my video, it's basically the Rate the Create video, the first Rate the Create I ever did, and this is the game that inspired me to do Rate the Create. So yeah, but the game itself, I mean, it's Dynasty Warriors. It's as straightforward as you can get. You have a 6-hit combo, and you can cancel it into like 5 different finishers based on when you cancel it. So if you cancel it after the third attack by pressing a charge attack, then you'll do a different finisher. And it's just very simple, and there's a lot of beat-em-ups back in the day that have used this system as well, like Castlevania Curse of Darkness, for example. It was fun in that game, and it's fun in this game. Honestly, I like simple games, and this game is simple. Now, obviously, in terms of gameplay, it's not my favourite Muso, but because it has all of this customization, it adds so much replay value that I can just pick up and play it and not feel like I'm wasting my time because I'm trying out a different sort of scenario and just changing up my experience a bit with the personalization aspects, which keeps the game fresh for me. And honestly, I could spend hours on this game, and I have. And yeah, I just adore just having the freedom to just create my own experience and this whole sandboxy feel that this game has. And yeah, it's kind of like a mini Mountain Blade in a way, because Mountain Blade is more intensive. I won't call that a chill game because it can get pretty stressful sometimes, like when you're up against like an army that's ridiculously strong and you have to beat it. Yeah, it has its tough moments and you really have to be on the ball. But the appeal is there. It's just a more bite-sized version of it. It's kind of like a quicker, more speedier version. It's kind of like when you play Mountain Blade Warband, it's like this is a huge undertaking. You are playing like for 200 hours in a single session, and it's meant to be played in small portions where, you know, you make a little bit of progress with this one character to take over the world in like a day, and then you move on to the next day and you make like a tiny bit of progress the next day. This game is more like what takes you like about 2 or 3 months to conquer the whole world takes about a few hours in Dynasty Warriors Empires. I mean, if you're slow like me, it'll probably take a few days, but you can rush through it and conquer the entirety of China very quickly if you really want to. I mean, the game is that easy that you can just muscle through it. Especially on the easy difficulty, my god, you can just beat the game very quickly. And depending on the size of the Empire's scenario that you pick, will also depend on how fast it ends, because if you just have 2 nations, then it'll probably take you a couple of hours to beat it. If you basically have like the capital right at the front and you can target the capital instantly, then you only need to do 1 battle and you beat the game. I know, it's silly, you beat the game just in 1 battle. It's gonna be a hard fight. Oh, it is, because you have to fight their entire nation. But it's possible to beat the entire game in 1 fight, which is pretty awesome. And it can be satisfying to do that if you want a bit more of a challenge. I'm not saying a huge challenge, but a little bit more of a challenge. If you want to have to deal with hit point sponges, really, I guess. But I don't know, there is something empowering about that sometimes. But yeah, Dynasty Warriors Empires for sure. It just has that appeal of just making constant progress, but it's not really truly progress driven, because after the end of conquering an empire, you basically start afresh. So you don't carry anything over. There is a way to buy weapons to have access to as your character in Empires mode via the bonus points menu, which you can use to essentially buy weapons to use at the beginning of any Empires. It's kind of like a cheat that you can buy with the in-game currency, and it essentially allows you to unlock everything right from the start if you want to do that. But personally, I just like to start afresh without carrying anything over. But if you want to start off ridiculously powerful, you can. And as I say, like, it's not really a game where you level up and keep all of your levels, because after you conquer the Empire, the only thing that you really carry over is your timeline and the children that you get if you choose to get married. That's it. Other than that, the only other thing you can carry over is the way of life that you obtain throughout the Empire scenario, and also, like, you can get the way of life that they have, which it essentially makes an AI act the way you do. It's kind of complicated, but basically it's like, based on your actions throughout the Empire mode, you can like save a copy of your officer to essentially mirror what you did, to kind of like make a mirror of your officer, so that the officer acts like you. So if you wanted to play against yourself, sort of like an AI that plays like yourself, then you can. But yeah, other than that, you don't really keep anything. which is mainly the difference between Empires and Extreme Legends, which Extreme Legends is more for people who like grinding and farming and just like constantly maxing everything out, and you know, a more story experience and a more meaty experience with more content. But honestly, for me, I don't need more content. There's tons of games out there nowadays which are just full to the brim of content. What I want is replay value, and this game has replay value. So much of it that I don't need anything else. Now, another game that I consider a chill game, because I talked enough about Dynasty Warriors and Empires, so I'm going to talk about the other game that I go to, is, well, it's not really a game, it's a series of games. It's basically wrestling games, WWE games. I mean, I play Day of Reckoning 2, I play 2K16, and I play SmackDown 2. Those are the main 3 games that I play. I also have 2K19, but I don't really play that, I just watch the matches. That's all I do in that one. I'm doing a universe mode, and I think some of you already know what I'm talking about when I say that. But with 2K16, like the universe mode, it's very similar to Dynasty Warriors and Empires in the sense that it's basically you create your own experience in the game. You create your own shows and pay-per-views and stuff, and you just customize your entire experience, and it's like a sandbox. It's the same thing, but the difference is it's not a Muso game, it's a wrestling game. So yeah, that's kind of what Universe Mode is. Universe Mode is basically the same thing as Empires Mode, but for wrestling. So if you like Dynasty Warriors and Empires, you'll probably like Universe Mode in WWE games. And of course you can create characters and stuff, and wrestling games are usually very simple combat-wise. I mean, yeah, they have quite a lot of moves, but the controls are a lot easier to get used to once you get used to them. I will have to say one thing about wrestling games, is that when you start a wrestling game, it's hard to get used to the controls. There is a bit of a learning curve there, because the manuals don't tend to tell you how you climb a cage in a cage match, and how you climb a ladder, and how you basically ring people out in a Royal Rumble. You know, basic stuff you kind of have to learn as you do. It's not necessarily going to be the easiest game to pick up on, but once you do pick up on it, it's fairly simple once you get the gist of those mechanics and those controls. And other than that, it's very simple. There's not really any input complexity in the ones that I play. I mean, some of the wrestling games do have input complexity, but not this one, not 2K16, and not Day of Reckoning 2. I'm not sure about SmackDown 2, I don't know, but from what I've played, it doesn't seem to have any. But I play these games because they're simple and they have customization aspects, and Universe Mode just means infinite replay value, so I'm just like, okay, I'll just go keep playing Universe Mode then, and yeah, get some replay value out of it, you know, because why not? And that's kind of the thing, it's just like, I only need one game to do all of this stuff. Like, a lot of people nowadays, like, they have to buy the latest game and stuff, whereas I'm just like, you know, I have this game that gives me all this playtime. Why do I need to buy something new? Why do I need to buy Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires when it's basically the same shit but less content? No scenario creator, no create a unit, no create a soldier. You know, all you have is officer creation and an open world with nothing in it. Okay, you know, I'm not going to buy it, but if it's your thing, go for it. But I'd rather stick with 8 Empires. The same thing for WWE games, really. I mean, the only reason why I bought other WWE games is just to have more slots to create characters, if I'm honest. And that's about it, because it's more or less the same thing. You buy one WWE game, and you kind of played them all, really. I mean, there are a few differences with some of them, and a bit like Dynasty Warriors, there's some differences, but once you find the right one, you'll never need another one. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the way these games are. They just last forever. You know what I mean? Same with Mountain Blade, but that's not necessarily a chill game, is it? So, yeah, those are the sort of chill games that I mainly play. But I'm going to talk about a few other games that I have played before, but don't have the same level of replay value as those games that I consider chill. Now, First, I want to talk about Doshin the Giant for the GameCube, which is basically kind of like a God sort of game. It's like, basically it's a God game where you can morph the world in any way you want. So essentially you can create mountains, you can create islands, and basically morph this world however you want. You can't build things on the world directly, however there are humans that you can move around and they'll build things for you. And the whole game is basically you trying to help the humans build their civilizations and terramorphing to help their civilizations get built. It's a pretty fun game and it's a pretty cool concept, and it's just so chill because it never really feels like you're under pressure. I mean, okay, maybe there's a little bit of pressure to like keep the trees alive because they do die over time and you want to create new trees, but it's never something that feels strenuous. You never feel like you're on a time limit. You just kind of do as you please. If you want to start a new nation, you can. If you want to crush a nation and destroy and kill everybody, you can. If you want to like plant a ton of trees in one area, you can. You know, if you want to get rid of natural disasters, you can. There's nothing that really forces you to play a specific way. There's no real rules. You just kind of do whatever the hell you want. And sometimes that's the most chill thing. I mean, you can't necessarily win this game, but there are things to collect, and those things are monuments. And if you collect all the monuments, then you kind of beat the game, I guess. But that's just kind of to give a purpose to what you're doing to get all the monuments. But other than that, it's basically just do whatever the hell you want and just have a fun time and just mess about. You're a giant and you're just there to mess around with the island and kill people, I guess, if you fancy. And you can change on the fly. If you're having a bad day and you want to let out your rage, you can turn into Joshin and kill everybody. But if you want to, you know, just chill and have a laid back session, then you can just be Doshin and help out and watch the civilization grow. So yeah, there's Doshin the Giant. Very chill game. And the next, well, it's not game, but set of games I want to talk about is not really a game, but it's a bunch of games. And I'm just going to come out and say it. Anything made by Gust. Now, this includes a lot of games, but basically, if you see the Gust label on the game, and these are RPGs, by the way, if you're wondering, most of them. I mean, there is a beat 'em up, which is also pretty chill. But the gist is that anything made by Gust is generally going to be chill. Like, I have never played a Gust game that isn't chill. Now, there are Gust games that are better than others, I will definitely say that. The quality varies, but if there's one thing that Gust is very consistent in, it's making chill experiences. They're not really super difficult or super challenging, they never really feel overwhelming, they just feel relaxing. You can just sit back, turn off your brain and just craft stuff in Atelier games and in other games that they make as well. And then you've got Knights of Azure, which is just kind of the same sort of thing as like Chaos Legion, where you summon monsters and you just hack and slash shit, and that's about it. It's just a chill game, and that's it. So that's kind of what you're getting from Gust. They just make chill games. The problem is that they don't last, so there's no real replay value to them, which means that you're not going to go back to them time and time again. But if you just want a short chill session, like if you just want a chill game to break up all the other games, then these games are pretty good to go to if you're just looking for something chill. The Gust logo is what you're looking for, really. My personal recommendation would be Atelier Iris 2, because that game is probably the most well-rounded of all the Gust games in my opinion. I think that's the best game Gust have ever made, personally. A lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, but I like Atelier Iris 2 the best, as it's just the most well-rounded in terms of like chill but involving experience for me. So that's just me, but I'm sure people are going to feel differently on it. But that's the game that I pick, and yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. So I'll see you guys later.